A Look at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
Welcome back to Look News. Thursday, our daily appointment with financial expert Stephen Carlton.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for being here. A little tip of the hat to your financial knowledge there.
It's good to be here.
Coming off
freezing cold day.
Freezing cold day, but not a lot better than it has been.
Yes.
Yesterday on the news, we actually reported minus 61 was recorded at a weather station out in the Finger Lakes.
It's like pretty cold.
Pretty cold. That Arctic vortex has since headed back to where it came from. But, you know, the impact of this is the financial impact for folks covering the cost of heating their homes.
Yeah, you think about, you know, the average American who heats their home with oil or electric or natural gas. The last couple of weeks has been so expensive. I was talking to somebody over at Spot Coffee, and they were talking about how they had to refill their oil furnace again, and it was $700. And so a lot of the people in Saratoga and Glens Falls and the areas are having to budget a lot more for heating and electrical costs than they're used to.
Yeah, you know, and heating oil is somewhat, it's kind of like that. You got to pay that lump sum up front. So it's not like if you have an electricity bill, which is already coming in higher because of this. But
absolutely,
with
it is.
Oil, you've got to have the cash up front for it.
Yeah, and a lot of families, they're stretched. They're coming off the holiday season, so this is difficult for a lot of families in the community. You
know, you would think with this demand for heating oil, because we're heating our homes, on a more regular basis, or using more oil, burning more oil during this time of year, the oil prices would be going up, but that's not the case.
This is the good news, and this is the silver lining in this, if we can try to find one, is that oil was up over $100 a barrel going into the Christmas holiday season. And it has since come down, and today it closed at just over $92 a barrel. And so we're using a lot more oil, but I think because of the fracking, because of the increased supply that the U.S. has brought online in the last couple of years, we haven't seen the increase that typically we would see in this kind of cold weather.
Yeah, fracking, an interesting thing. The governor had his state address yesterday. As part of his energy policy, fracking did not come into that equation. Obviously, the state is still wrestling with how they move forward with that.
It's a little bit more politically contentious. Certainly, there's very strong views on this, but there are other states like North Dakota, Texas, that have established this, have brought it online, and they've had a lot of success with this. This has ramped up incredibly to the point that countries like Saudi Arabia have taken notice and said, this is a concern. They're bringing a lot of oil online.
Yeah, fracking seems to be, the UK is now wrestling with that. In England, they're wrestling with that. There was a protest earlier this week where they shipped in one of the wind turbine, the actual arms from a wind turbine, and put it right in the middle of the site.
It's tough. I mean, it's going to be contentious, and it's relatively new technology, so the environmental impact is still up in the air. But, it's something that's not going to go away.
What I love when we get together and we talk about this segment is that you bestow so much wisdom onto me. And, use the expression today, as January goes, so does the year.
Yes, it's a very kind of, common saying in our business.
Okay.
And so, the January started, and it was down. The first, couple days in the market, we saw red. People are used to the market being up and up and up. The S&P was up 30% last year in 2013, and so we kind of got a little spoiled.
So obviously it's going to be a bad year in the markets. That's the thought.
That's the thought. But here's the thing. When there have been other years where we've been down. Take, for example, 2010. For the first couple of weeks of January in 2010, it was down, but the market rallied in February, and so things took off. And so there's some things that we're watching right now. Retail sales numbers from things like Bed Bath & Beyond, the dollar store, were negative. A lot of concern there. The unemployment number is a little better than expected, but tomorrow's going to be an important day. And tomorrow's non-farm payroll.
Okay.
If the non-farm payroll numbers come in better than expected, then we're going to see interest rates go higher. And the number that we've always talked about, Dave, the last year is watching the 10-year Treasury. Now we're over 3%. If that comes in around 3.25%, that's going to be a lot of pressure on the stock market. But if the non-farm payroll comes in under 200,000, I think we're going to continue to see the good market that we've seen so far.
What is the potential for those numbers coming in, in that territory where interest rates may have to be affected?
So non-farm payroll's expectation is going to be somewhere around 197, 198,000 is a number, and that's new jobs created in the month of December. So it's not a great number, but if the number gets a lot stronger, what that does is the Federal Reserve, our new chairman, Janet Yellen, who's coming in on the 31st, is going to have to taper buying bonds, and that's going to make everything more expensive on the debt side. So that's where the concern is right now. So everybody's going to be watching that. That'll be a really important indicator for the rest of the year.
Some numbers to watch. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
You touched on the profits for some major retailers, obviously Dollar General, Bed Bath & Beyond, two relatively popular stores.
Sure.
Macy's, another popular store, the second largest department store chain in the country, announcing today, this via Bloomberg, they're going to cut 2,500 jobs, trim operating costs by $100 million. All that while they surpassed their profit projections. So they're making money hand over fist.
Yep.
And they're just bagging it for themselves.
It seems contradictory, doesn't it? It seems like they should be expanding. It seems like they should be doing more hires. But what you have to catch in that fine print is that they beat expectations, but those expectations weren't necessarily stellar.
Yeah.
They were pretty low expectations. Going into the holiday season, most retailers had lowered what they expected. But still, this goes back to the livable wage. It goes back to the average American on Main Street. And it's counterintuitive. We want to see more jobs come in, not these layoffs, but companies like JCPenney, Macy's, these lower income paying jobs, seems to be the trend to keep cutting and be as lean as possible.
All right, so we'll see what happens there. Of course, we don't have a Macy's in Saratoga Springs or Glens Falls, but our nearest one's in Colony and in Guilderland at the malls down there.
Right.
Real quick, you have a review of the Anchorman 2 movie.
Yes.
Because everybody loves an Anchorman review.
So I saw it the other day, and I laughed because David and I joke about the Anchorman, the first one, Will Ferrell.
I've never seen 1 or 2.
Yeah, not yet.
No, I don't plan. I'm not a Will Ferrell fan. To be honest, I'm not.
So we're going to get it for him for a birthday.
Okay, that's great.
And I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited.
I can't wait for that gift.
Great, funny movie. Really highly recommended. Not the most intellectually stimulating movie, but if you're looking for a laugh, if you're looking to get a good chuckle, 1970s CNN World News coming on.
When they did news.
When they used to do news. So definitely worth it if you're looking for a good chuckle. But
or you could just watch CNN Today and have a good chuckle.
Yes. I'm not going to touch that, but yes, definite changes.
Obviously,
there.
some changes. CNN is not the news network that we used to know.
No.
Anchorman 2. Eventually, I will break down and watch it, and I know that probably most people at home are like, "You're not a Will Ferrell fan." I think he's probably widely popular. You know, I like a stupid movie like the rest of you, but I just can't get my head around Will Ferrell.
Yeah, it's slapstick. It's just primal, and it is a good.
I'm sure everybody has an actor they don't like, or a news anchor they don't like. I'm sure they have that.
Send us an email. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, send me an email. It'll go right into my junk box.
So this weekend, if it's going to be cold and freezing, you don't feel like going outside and doing something, go see Will Ferrell.
All right. I have feelings too. Stephen Carlton, First Vice President Jenny Montgomery Scott. Nice way to end today's segment.
Always a pleasure. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too. Go see a movie at the Bowtie Cinema, perhaps. A nice one there. All right. To see this segment for a second time, if you want to put a little comment at the end of this video about, my dislike for Will Ferrell, go ahead. LookTVOnline.com.